Well, as a result of the financial crisis and a little bit of the delay from the government legislation, it was tough. And as I say, the work that I'd done, it had estimated that over the previous 20 years, which takes into account all sorts of market cycles, the average number of surveys that would have been relevant to this particular legislation was 1.5 million per year. But in the financial crisis in 2008, that dropped all the way down to 350 to 400,000. So it was a gigantic drop, and everyone in the market suffered. Many businesses went out of business; they just didn't exist any longer. We were one of the few that did survive, but it was really tough, and that created some tension, a lot of tension between the investors and myself. And in the end, we fell out, and they took the decision to take that business and pre-pack it into a new form of business. So I was written off the business, and that was a big problem for me. I lost my entire business. I lost my baby that I created on my living room table. It was a big life blow for me at the time. It was very disappointing, and I really had to go back to the drawing board and lick my wounds and whatever other metaphor I would use at that point in time. But it was a key point at which I really had to learn my own independence and my resilience as well. Yeah, in the end, as I say, I fell out with the investor. I was still the largest shareholder. I still owned, I think, more than 80% of the business, and I fell out with the shareholders, largely the VC venture capital fund, and we didn't solve that problem. So in the end, they had some debt in the business, and they were able to use some of the clauses in their indentures and so on, and they took the business away from me. They put it into a pre-pack administration, and that was a very painful experience. This business that I'd really worked hard on for many years. It was my own baby, it was my own thing, everything was my whole life for several years. And I felt it was difficult. I mean, it's a typical entrepreneurial story, of course, and I'm sure the investors have their story. But it was deeply painful, and that was a time for me to really sit back, think again about why I'd done these things. Obviously, I'd lost a lot of money, I'd lost a lot of confidence, I'd lost a lot of my self-belief, because this was one of the big failures in my life, actually. So it was a time when I had to really reflect and figure out where to go next. The situation at Vibrant Energy, when for me it came to a close, was very testing. It was a real test of my resilience. It was challenging for my mental health. I'd put myself in a lot of pressure physically. It was one of my biggest life challenges. I'd lost large amounts of money, a lot of confidence, and it was a real time to rebuild. And that was challenging, I've got to tell you. And I was lucky enough because I felt as that I could still reflect, and I felt like it's still been a good experience. I'd learned a lot. I felt like even in those years of the in with the VC and the out with the VC, I probably learned in 2 or 3 years more than someone in corporate finance would learn in 25 years. So I was very fortunate with that experience. But nevertheless, it was challenging. And so I needed some time to heal, and to not feel bitter and angry about it, which I definitely was, and then also to rebuild and consider what I was going to do next. So it's one of the biggest life challenges. But I think from that, and the people around me, my friends, my family, and even many of the people still from Vibrant in those days were very supportive, and it was a hard thing to go through, especially when I'd left a corporate life, and still most of my friends were still in corporate life, and they're still continuing to climb the ladder and so on. It was a big blow.